So what makes me cranky about Spider-Man Homecoming? That the people who said the trailers gave away too much of this movie were in fact correct. I had argued that we didn't have to worry about that because Marvel normally does a really good job of obfuscating how a movie will play out and changing the context of the clips they use so that when they do appear in the movie, they still have some punch. But in this case, it's pretty one-to-one from trailer to movie, and that definitely undercut a bunch of the stuff that would normally otherwise be really funny or interesting. Some people have said this is evidence of Sony not quite letting Marvel do their thing here, and I would not be surprised because this movie also has the problem that Wonder Woman had. It can't quite decide which movie it wants to be. There are a lot of good ideas and relevant themes tossed around, but they never quite come together in a satisfying way like they did in Spider-Man 2. The individual pieces are good, they just come at the expense of one another, which reeks of too many cooks in the kitchen. We're always bouncing back and forth between what many will probably dub the Breakfast Club stuff, the surrogate father thing they've got going with Iron Man, and then the usual antics where Peter is trying to balance his normal life with being a superhero, keep his identity secret, and all the rest of that stuff. They also end up wasting a lot of time repeating things and dragging out some of the gags, in particular Spider-Man having to chase someone without having the advantage of New York skyscrapers to swing through. Doing it once is funny and clever since it takes Spider-Man out of his element in a way we don't normally see. Doing it like 3 times is just kind of tedious, and those chases aren't especially exciting, and they don't tell us anything new about Peter, so it would have been better to just trim them down and save that time for our villain. Which brings me to the most disappointing thing about Spider-Man Homecoming. The villain! They got so close to finally having a truly compelling villain in one of these Marvel films and just dropped the ball by wasting time with all this other stuff. Unlike previous MCU baddies, he's not here to destroy the world or exact some personal vengeance on our heroes, which makes him so much more interesting than, I, bland psychopath, am here to crush you and lay waste to your entire world for the crime of having slighted me in some way 20 years ago. It's a double shame because Michael Keaton is so good whenever he's on the screen. He brings a sense of menace to his character that we haven't seen from really anyone in the MCU to date. And it plays really well with this younger, more innocent Peter that Tom Holland is portraying. Now, like I said, all of the components of the movie work really well individually, and occasionally they do play off each other, so this is still a pretty good movie overall. I could certainly see some of my disappointment just being due to the hype factor. I mean, after Civil War, it was really difficult to temper my expectations for this movie because they got Spider-Man so right in that. And they get him very right here, too. There are even a couple of wonderful subversions of what we might normally see from a superhero flick like this, which I really loved. Plus, Marvel's signature brand of humor still shines through, and while some of the jokes are spoiled by the trailer, the very best ones are not. For the most part, the action is fluid and creative, as is normal for Marvel, though the climactic battle does kind of get hard to follow. Not Jason Bourne level hard to follow, but it did feel like somebody dropped in a new director for that part. Probably that too many cooks in the kitchen thing coming up again. So while Spider-Man Homecoming is not the best Spider-Man movie I've seen, I think the first 2 of Sam Raimi's were definitely better, but it is certainly the best one we have seen in a while. It doesn't suffer from enormous amounts of stupidity and bad science, there's no dancing emo Peter Parker, and its Spider-Man actually looks and sounds like a teenager rather than a 30-year-old man. So all in all, I would say it's definitely still worth a full-price ticket. It's certainly the most kid-friendly of the superhero flicks this year, since it doesn't have the violence of Logan, the sexual innuendo of Guardians of the Galaxy 2, or the horrifying setting of Wonder Woman. Though, it may give some teenagers all new reasons to be nervous about going to their next school dance. And speaking of after-school activities, if you don't know you need to stay through the credits of a Marvel movie by now, I really can't help you. And this features one of the ballsiest post-credit stingers they've ever done, too, so it's definitely worth hanging around for that. That's what I thought about Spider-Man Homecoming anyway. Let me know what you thought in the comments, and if you did see it, tell me where you think it ranks among the previous Spidey flicks and the MCU in general. And unfortunately, I do not have the patronage of a multi-billionaire, so like many YouTube creators, I still have to add the obligatory request to like the video and subscribe to my channel.